I found two things are true when it comes to hyphenation. Either you need hyphenation or you hate hyphenation. Now, it's common if you do block style type, which this document isn't done in. It's left aligned, so these line endings are called ragging, almost like a smooth river down the side. But I notice immediately that this headline is hyphenating when it should not be. I'll double-click to get inside the headline, and the entire document uses styles. In a heading, I would never have hyphenation on. So I will double-click on Heading 1, and if Preview is on, you can click Hyphenation and simply uncheck Hyphenate to make sure hyphens are never allowed. I'll click OK to accept that. And then, if I zoom in to this first paragraph, I'll click anywhere there and hit Command plus or Control plus to zoom in. I'll notice that I've got the word roughly with a 2-letter hyphen. I'll zoom out once with Command minus or Control minus, and as I look at the other side of the document, preparation isn't so bad, Windows isn't so bad, but throughout, I want to make sure that 2-letter hyphens are never allowed. So if I look at paragraph styles, I have a body style, and I'll double-click on body, and I find that the InDesign defaults for hyphenation are a little too loose for my liking. I'll click hyphenation on the left, and here are my recommended rules. Typically, I only like longer words to hyphenate, so I make the words at least 8 letters long before it decides to hyphenate them. Sometimes I see 7 as well. I'll press Tab to jump down to After First, and that cleared out the hyphenation in roughly. But I've got Portions and Fortress hyphenating. And I'm still allowing 2 letters before or after the hyphen. So I put a minimum of 3 after first to never get a 2-letter hyphen before the hyphen. I'll hit Tab to jump down and 3 before last, so I never get 2 letters after the hyphen. The hyphen limit is how many lines in a row are allowed to hyphenate. And 3 would just be atrocious. So I always put in 1, and if I press Tab, which triggers the preview, I could see that those 2 lines, actually both of them, decided not to hyphenate. So a hyphen limit of 1 never allows 2 hyphens in a row. Hyphenation zone is how big the area is that the text needs to fit into before it hyphenates. And finally, I would never hyphenate a capitalized word because it might be a city name or a proper name, across a column, or the last word in a column. And I'll click OK. And I'll choose View, Fit Page in Window. And this text is looking better. If I come down to page 2 or do View, Fit Spread in Window, you can navigate your pages here, or I can go to my Pages panel and double-click on pages 2 and 3, right on the number. But you'll notice something typographically incorrect. I've got a single line at the beginning of a page or column by itself. And in that same column, unfortunately, a single line at the end. Technically, a single line at the beginning of a page or column is called an orphan, and a single line at the end of a page or column is called a widow, and both are bad. But InDesign has automatic controls for this. If I go to my paragraph style and double-click on body, I want to scoot this over far enough so that I could see it happening to the text in the background. There's a feature called Keep Options. And by simply checking the box, Keep Lines Together, it puts a minimum of 2 lines at the start of any page or column or paragraph, and a minimum of 2 lines at the end of any page or column or paragraph. And my orphan and widow will never be allowed to happen and are fixed in this document. The last thing I want to show is the bottom of this paragraph. If I click in this paragraph and zoom in with Command plus or Control plus, a single word at the bottom of a paragraph that isn't at the beginning of a page or column isn't technically a widow or orphan, but looks bad. So what I can do is highlight these two words, imperial seat, and there's a unique feature in InDesign that will not allow these two to break. I build it into almost every document. In character styles, I will choose New Character Style and scoot this down so I can see it and name it No Break. In basic character formats, all I have to do is check the box No Break. This dash, or it might be gray on Windows, means it could be on or off. But when I check it, it's completely on and it pulled those two words down. The beauty of this is, if I click OK, the way that people would fix that in the past if I hadn't applied that no break style is they might do a soft return, shift return, or shift enter to force it down. But if I add new text to this line, it keeps that soft return, so it can create a bad break. I'll undo that until it's fixed, and I'll select imperial seat and not the period after, just these two words, and hit no break. And if I decide to add new text, the no break is on when it's needed, but doesn't keep that forced break in when it's not needed. So I'll undo that, and I've got no break applied for only these two words. This can be used anywhere. If I fit the spread in window, I can look for any other spot where I've got two words that I don't want to break on different lines, like here where I have Ghost Town. Visually, maybe I want to wrap that down to the next line, so I'll highlight Ghost Town and the word on and hit no break, and it calculates on the entire paragraph how to keep the ragging or the line break smooth, but force that down to the next line. A very powerful and very unique feature to InDesign. So in this document, we've controlled the typography and made sure that we got rid of any widows or orphans, single lines at the beginning of page or columns, and we've set it up for better hyphenation for our body style and no hyphenation for our heading styles.